And you were not too keen on Pochettino subs in this game. I don't understand why Nico Jackson comes on. And for me, that's a turning point in the game because that box that you rightly described before was gone. And suddenly you had a focal point and it was much easier for Arsenal to defend against and to actually go and press because you kind of knew what Chelsea were going to do.
I think the thinking...
Reece James made no sense whatsoever.
We'll get to Reece James in a minute. But
yeah.
I think the Nico Jackson thing was a case of, okay, Arsenal are chasing the game. Let's have an outlet because let's face it, Cole Palmer did well, but this was a central midfielder. There's two central midfielders, him and Gallagher next to each other, disrupting things, right?
Yeah.
At that point in the game, you wanted to have the outlet, you wanted to have the pace, right?
Yeah.
It's a wet pitch. Your pacey players are Sterling, who obviously you wanted to take off at some point because he's getting more tired, and Mudryk, who is a roll of the dice. And so he sends on Madueke to give you that directness, and Jackson.
Much later, Madueke than Jackson.
Sorry?
Madueke much later than Jackson.
Right. But I'm saying that was, and again, you could argue whether he should have come on before. But I think this was the idea. This is what he was trying to do. And Jackson had that chance one-on-one.
Yeah, okay, he had. But...
And look, at least Jackson didn't get booked this game.
Yeah, you're right. So in your match between his goals and yellow cards,
it's leveling up. That was a terrible touch. You can look at both ways. It was a terrible touch, which Raya got to, right? Or as my friend put it, he passed the ball to Raya. Equally, though, he got himself in that position.
Yeah,
right. So if he scores a goal, then we're saying, "Oh, Poch, how smart," with Jackson's directness. That's it. I still don't know. I still don't know where you go this season with Jackson as your main center forward.
You don't. In January, they're going to sign.
Couple years down the road, and
100%.
So the great Armando experiment is over as well. You're going to think right off there?
I don't know. I just don't know if he's good enough really to take this team back to the top. But again, same with Nkunku. Where is it going to Nkunku play? Well, you can't play Cole Palmer, Gallagher, and Nkunku. Well, no, you can. And Sterling and Nkunku all together?
Well, no. I think one out of Palmer or Gallagher misses out when Nkunku's back. I think that's pretty obvious.
Where do you stand on the penalty? I'll tell you what I liked. That a big star like Sterling wants to take the pen, I can understand. Usually players like him would take penalties in a team. I think players like that would always try to get the penalty, right? Even if Cole Palmer is the penalty taker, he scored the game before in the Premier League on the penalty. What I love the most about this whole little scene was that Enzo Fernandez, who hasn't even been in this country for a year, at Chelsea for a year, whose English probably you would think is okay-ish, just about. He's the one, and he's only 22 years old, step in and say, no. And say to Sterling, hey, give him the ball, it's his. And then Sterling looks at him saying like, what? Did you really say what I think you said? And Enzo goes again, yeah, it's his ball, it's his pen. And I love that. And I love Enzo. I've always done. He's a leader in that team and they need him, especially when, like you said before, he played in the right position. But I just love that,
You'd almost think that Enzo and the manager come from the same country and the manager gave very clear rules and, Raheem Sterling maybe wanted to test that a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, by the way, if it had turned into a dispute, I would assumed Thiago Silva comes up from the back and says, guys,
but he didn't.
You know who I am? My name is Thiago Silva.
But he didn't. Enzo
behave.
Enzo did.
I know. But you had Thiago in reserve to sort that out.
But still.
And I thought Palmer did fine. I think Palmer...
I
don't dislike him, but I think it's a massive transition going from a team where you're surrounded by all these players who are far better than you, players where you can give a bad pass and they're going to be able to control it, players who are going to anticipate the movements all the time, and coming into this game in those conditions with these players around him who are still very much trying to find themselves.
Yeah, and we will know because this was the first game of a horrendous fixture list now for Chelsea where they would play City and Spurs and maybe United and Brighton or I don't know.
Brentford.
I think it's Newcastle. It's like the 5 games coming up are huge.
The other thing on the substitutions, and again, when you're there, you kind of view the game a little differently. But Okay, so Reece James is fit again. There was some talk that he'd be ready to start against Arsenal. I understand why he didn't start. You don't want to make it your first start. But at some point, he sends Reece James on.
Yeah, 84th minute.
84th minute. And he sends Reece James on for one of the midfielders, right? And I assumed, he's going to go to a back three. Reece James has played it before. Maybe it makes sense, less up and down, your first game back. Malo Gusto is going to stay where he is, wide. Instead, I don't know what you would call the position he played. He sort of played like right-sided midfield of some kind.
Like that, yeah.
Where he was hardly involved. I think he had 2 touches, maybe three touches.
Four passes I think he made in total.
It left Malo Gusto defending the far post, which guess what? I don't know what happened with this guy, or if he had something in his eye, but he completely loses Trossard. Trossard, I know, has got that little invisibility superpower sometimes.
But that's what Malo Gusto does, defensively sometimes it's shaky.
You can't concede a goal like that at the far post. You simply cannot.
Definitely not.
And
not that time in the game, certainly.
I can deal with people making mistakes because they're being positive and attacking. I can't deal with people making mistakes.
That's a basic defense. It's a basic defender skill to see that and to defend that.
You should know where your center backs are, and you should know where Reece James is, right?
Yeah, and Trossard.
And you should know above all where Trossard. I don't know. There's a lot of talking points. I think there's a long way for both these teams to go. Arsenal starting at a higher level, a much higher level, of course, obviously, than Chelsea right now. It's a longer rebuild, whatever. But I'll be curious to know what Poch does next. Is he going to become enamored of this strikerless system? The other thing, on the Mudryk one, you're 100% certain he didn't mean it.
Oh, come on.
Right. Okay, all right. So
I don't even think there's a debate. What is the debate? You could see where he looks. You can see his body. You could just see everything. But good for him. He went in. You take all those goals.
Pochettino says he practices this in training all the time.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Lamine Camara, who scored a 58-meter lob against Monaco, said he practiced it all the time too. Come on.